Hello, folks. Mask31 here. I'm happy to announce the Reddmasq Podcast is returning today. Yes, today. This is our 26th episode and start of our season until December rolls around. As we get the flow down again, we're bound to be ironing out bugs along the way. Red's audio is a little messed up this episode due to how he didn't use a source file, but rest assured, it's still listenable if you can forgive these issues. With that said, sit back, relax, and enjoy the chaos. Welcome to a podcast capturing the antics of two geeks who talk about video game culture and influence, both old and new, all through chaotic banter and tangential tangents that make no sense. My name is Mask. God only knows what I'd be without booze. This is my pal Red.
That was a game that was indeed made.
And together we make the Reddmasq Podcast. This is episode 26. We're back.
We're back, baby.
What can you talk at length about here? Oh, you want to talk about Mario 64 co-op?
Sure, we tried to play Mario 64 co-op again. We're doing the modification that adds X, Vile, and Zero from Mega Man X.
Yep. It's
and we also,
really nice to actually get going. Like, you don't need to do anything overly complicated, just drop it in a mod folder and you're off.
I did add the X4 sound. So all of the X and Zero sounded like they were from X4. And with the X4 sounds, whenever Zero was like falling or dying, he would scream, "What am I fighting?" Very, very funny. And our playthrough ended because we're doing Star Road, right?
Right, we were doing the Star Road mod because, like, when you're playing as a character that can wall jump off the same wall, you're kind of tending to break the game over your knee at that point.
Yeah, and then eventually the game broke itself, and I wound up falling through walls like 5 times at the ice stage. Okay.
And you were hosting, so I'm not sure if it was like a network issue or anything. I didn't notice anything like that going on my side as I was playing with Zero here.
It may have just been like the game, the fucking slopes didn't know how to handle X's wall jump.
Right,
I was playing as
yeah.
X, you were playing as Zero. So like the game would try to do it, like put him in a wall jump state, and instead he just fell to the fucking floor.
Which
multiple
is
times.
not correct.
Once it happened like 4 or 5 times, I was like, okay, the game runs over. I can't put up with this.
One of the other things that kind of broke the immersion was you had to switch to Waluigi to do a door kick.
Yeah, because there was in Star Road, there's some stuff you can only there was a thing in like one of the early stages, like you can only break this broken window with a wall kick. And so whereas X and Zero have weapons that can blow up stuff that shouldn't be able to be blown up. Like I blew up a fucking chain chomp. That shouldn't have happened.
That's fun. Just to
Very
see
funny,
the robots
very fun.
destroy old Mario enemies.
The Buster was nothing against something that required a wall kick. So I had to switch to a Mario character, and I chose Waluigi. He was my default. And I had to kick open windows. I wanted to say something really fast. I really fucking hate where they hid the invisible.
Oh yeah, I was gonna talk about that too, because we had to go under like a crypt and then through a boo to actually get to the invisibility cap. It's kind of well hidden.
You're supposed to go straight at a point and then hit a wall and turn left. And like there is the indication of everything about that zone is like if you touch the dark, you die. And like so in order to get to the invisible cap, you have to go into the dark. Like, okay.
Yeah, it's like you're touching the dark, but you're not dying at that section. Meanwhile, if you try to get the star, the dark kills you. That's the problem there.
It was a little upset.
I was very
upset when I looked it up and saw it, and I was like, I am mad. Salted.
Well, I'm glad you looked it up, because I wouldn't have found it myself, and kind of would have just left the stars hanging there. We were going for like a completionist run, of like just getting all of the stars back to back to back as much as we could throughout our playthrough there.
Yeah. And of course it stopped once we hit the ice zone where I kept falling through fucking walls.
Yeah. They need to exist. They can't merely just be suggestions.
But I think it was more of an interaction glitch happening.
I think it has to do with like the way the slope registers for the characters, because I was like walking up ceilings a couple of points here. And it's like, gee, this isn't supposed to happen like that. Mario is a plumber. He's supposed to run, jump, not wall kick, not dash attack, not like
And they
Ryu
did try to
through enemies in the Shoryuken motion.
Yeah, they did try to balance X a little bit, where like if you do repeated wall jumps, each wall jump gets weaker. But this also means that like in scenarios where you have to do repeated wall jumps to get up with Mario in the first place, you're just not going to make it with X.
You're just kind of gonna be floating there. You can't even double jump out of it with Zero. You just have to like land and then regain your stamina, basically.
Yeah.
Think of it like an invisible meter.
Yeah. And there's also like X. You had a double jump at Zero, but X does not. The only thing he has to raise his jump height is to do a dash.
Right, yeah.
I don't know about you.
Well, you have armor options at least.
Yeah, I did have armor options. That was more or less just changing.
Yeah.
Because if you choose no armor, you get the regular Buster. If you choose first armor from X1, you get his charge shot from X1. If you choose the second armor, you get his charge shot from X2.
Shooting lemons at Goombas hasn't felt this good since Mario Crossover. The game does play pretty smoothly, I will say. Like, everything feels right, and it feels a lot better than X7. It says a lot about X7.
Funny. Yeah, you want to talk about Mario Crossover? I prefer Mushroom Kingdom.
Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, what I grew up with was Mario Crossover, but, like, Mushroom Kingdom Fusion is where it went after the fact. You can play as Bill and Lance from Contra. It's fun.
Mushroom Kingdom Fusion was under development forever, and eventually the original team had to like stop because they were done with the project and didn't want to do it anymore. And then another group of people have picked it back up, so continuing development on their own.
How many years has this game been being developed here?
Probably a decade plus.
I'm looking at like some random wiki on this Mushroom Kingdom Fusion. It says it began development with the idea of Mario Land 2 6 gold coins. I'm sure this wiki is totally factual and not inaccurate at all. Multimedia Fusion 1.2 build 98 in the year 2000 was where this project started. 25 years! That's almost as many episodes.
2.5 decades. This game has existed since I was 3.
Amazing!
That's absurd. Yeah, no, this game's been around for even longer than Crossover. Because Crossover was a Flash game. And this, it's like Mushroom Kingdom Fusion is like a very fleshed out version of the idea.
December 2007, Judge Spear discovered Game Maker, SMB3, Helio Engine 3, Mega Man 2. There's like legacies on legacies buried in this game's history here. It's kind of scary. I don't even know what's true or not.
This shit is wild. But I think the long development time, the fact that you have to download no browser, it helps emphasize how it's more of a full thing than just Mario Crossover, like
or many of the other Mario fan games out there.
More feature rich.
But that's not to say the other fan games aren't good in their own right, though.
Crossover's good. Yeah,
we watched one where just like this Goomba was going through like most of the Mario levels. Had a bunch of crazy stuff going on. Also written in Flash.
Fun. It's called A Koopa's Revenge. We were watching a couple tools at the speed runs last night. One of them was A Koopa's Revenge 2, where they were playing as the Goomba who got a Sonic power up. And then, A Koopa's Revenge is like the old classic of violent Mario, and you're playing as you stomp on like there's like baby Marios around the stage, and if you stomp on them, they turn into a bloody.
It's sick. It's pretty much like quintessential for like of that era, just like very violent Mario. Everyone wanted to see violent Mario. Mario in 3D, Mario doing Call of Duty things, first person Mario. Just like
Mario has a gun. Mario's doing drugs.
Exactly.
You get to play as the bad guy and reduce Mario to a bloody pulp.
Things were edgy back then.
Quintessential Flash game edginess fan game.
Things that will get you kicked off the internet if you're 12 and your parents saw you playing.
Yes. Like my parents getting mad at me for looking at Sexual Lobster's Newgrounds page back in and they framed it as you went to sexuallobster.com. The fuck are you talking? No, I didn't.
My parents kicked me off the internet for looking at teabagging in Halo on screwattack.com.
Oh no.
Which also makes sense. Xbox Live 04 was also wild. How far back in the past are we gonna go on this tangent here? Oh my god.
I don't know.
This is the point of our show, though. Like, we're getting back into it, and it's like hitting us right in the face. We're back, baby.
Do a quick drink recommendation.
Oh, we can
Been
do some
drinking
drink
some
order,
of these at my local, at our local liquor store. I've been finding these things called this drink brand called The Club, and I like getting their Long Island iced teas. Like, if I get six of them, it's like a $10 6-pack.
And
it's 15% alcohol by volume, 200 milliliters, and it tastes really good. It's very, very good.
It's like an Arnold Palmer, except without the lemonade.
Yeah, Long Island iced tea is like the original Arnold Palmer in alcohol.
You can add your own lemon if you want to, but, like, it's there.
It's a lot of alcohol. It's a lot of sweetness. They're kind of a dangerous drink for that.
Despite being from New York, I've never had it.
I'd recommend one.
I mean, I've already drinking some Sour Monkey from your bro's recommendation, and that was quite good. Victory actually has their own brand.
I just mean just in general.
It's not
it has like Long Island iced tea has like cola. Well, you get it like if you get it at a place that makes their own, they have to actually mix the drink. Then yeah.
Okay, it'll have like iced tea and cola. Interesting.
Fuck it, I'm looking up the ingredient list.
All right, yeah, you do that.
Ingredients: 1 ounce foam syrup. I don't know. 1 ounce lemon juice, half ounce gin, half ounce tequila, half ounce triple sec, half ounce vodka, half ounce white rum, splash of, and then
that's a lot of fun.
However big you want it to be, you adjust the size. Because my mom loves Long Island iced teas. Whenever we go somewhere to get them, she's always massive. What were we talking about before I got
drinks? Long Island iced teas, and I was going to do my drink recommendation when you're done talking about how tall it is.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well, your brother, Ben Briggs, introduced me to Victory, the brand, and they have more than just one drink, but the one drink that I tried was Sour Monkey. It's a sour. If you're familiar with it, it's kind of like a lime drink sort of thing. It's like a very sour sort of taste. I don't know if it's like a boozy beer or if it's like, it's not light exactly, but it's not like an IPA.
It's a fruity beer. I think that's what it's sour.
Yes, it is a fruity beer, but like Victory as a brand also has like a Berry Monkey. It also has pale ales. It also has like an Oktoberfest brew. There's a whole thing to this. I've only just scratched the surface with Sour Monkey, but boy, is it tasty.
Sorry, I'd like to circle back. I think you just said fruity deer, and I was like,
fruity beer.
You said deer.
Oh dear.
You said deer, like a fruity deer.
I can assure you that it was beer, but all I can say to that is, oh dear.
Oh.
I've got nothing else. My dad jokes are depleted.
Oh my.
Oh my. Okay, don't sue us. Anyway.
Oh yeah, he'll sue us for saying oh my. I've definitely
got to. Yeah, I'm sure he will. He's got nothing better to do but be on either Twitter or Mastodon and just retweet some of the best memes you've ever seen. Love Takei. But, yeah, I would recommend, like, exploring the Victory brand of, like, beers and boozes. Because, oh boy, there's something for everyone here. Also, 9% alcohol volume makes for a real fun time. Are you a bottle or a can person, by the way? I know you've also been up in the wines recently.
Bottle or a can?
Right. Like, do you hate the fact that beer comes in cans? Would you seek it out if it were in bottles? Is it kind of like wine?
I just don't like it.
Would you drink a canned wine?
Problem with beer is that it tastes like shit. Fair. That's my issue. I hate beer. It tastes like garbage. Like, oh, if you drink more of it, you'll get more accustomed to the taste. It's like, I could do that. But just also buy drinks I already enjoy and don't have to worry about it.
That's true. It's like cilantro for you. It's just like, you don't want to acquire the taste, and it tastes terrible already.
That's funny, because my dad drinks beer, but he hates it. It's like soap.
Quirky. Yeah, exactly. He's got that gene.
Got this fucking soap gene. Damn.
He doesn't have the soap shoes, he's got the soap gene.
And soap jeans for when you need to slide on your knees instead of your
pants sliding down a rail.
Your pants riding it down like you're
rolling around on the seat of my pants.
Do you think like if you were to take a spill and you have to like land on your knees or your butt or whatever, the soap jeans would be a lot more for that.
I mean, you'd probably slide everywhere given how Sonic slides around in 06. I imagine it'd be something like that. We forgot to mention one very key game that we watched tassing, and that was Dragon Slayer on Game Boy Color. That monster is a monster. Okay, story time first. Capcom helped with this game. In particular, there was a rotoscope technique that they used in an unreleased Resident Evil 1 port to the Game Boy Color. I'm not sure if that technique ended up being used here, but there is some evidence given that some of the animation frames translate over. This is a fully 8-bit game, by the way. It's not using CD such cutscenes. It's not using any other techniques. It's using the Game Boy Color's processor and typical stuff you'd find with that.
Ergo, Game Boy Color game. It's gonna be 8-bit.
It's 8-bit, yes. Ergo, the sprites look horrendous at times.
Yeah, every now and then we would see a frame and we'd have to take a screenshot of it. We got 3 of them.
We got 3 faces of our hero, Dirk the Daring, looking very, let's just say, not so heroic.
Like Derp the Daring. The Daring. I'm hilarious.
Yeah.
One of them, he's making a hilarious face, and it doesn't have any. Another one, he's also making a funny face, but he doesn't have any pupils, and he's twisting his face.
Exactly.
My favorite has to be the one with the tiny eyes.
The tiny eyes was the best, yeah.
The tiny eyes spaced out.
Just a single pixel for the white iris, yeah. I think it also corroborates what you just said. It actually corroborates the whole idea that this came from a Resident Evil game because, oh boy, he looks like a zombie. Good God.
A little bit.
Yeah, it's perfect. Oh my God. Also, Digital Eclipse was evolved, which, good to see them doing stuff still. They're some of the best at, porting stuff over. And, in modern days, they're fucking busy. They're working with, a bunch of other teams right now for the Castlevania games, among others. A lot of collections got released at the time we, took a break and came back on the Reddmasq Podcast here.
So I'd just like to point out, they got their start porting to the Mac OS, Joust, Robotron 2084, and Defender.
Oh yeah, level.
They immediately got started porting Williams Electronics.
I admire some of the work that they do at Digital Eclipse. Not all of their ports are pixel perfect, but for what they do, holy hell, you guys have a legacy.
Oh dear, they ported Clax to the Game Boy Color. I don't know if that went well or not.
Oh yeah, Clax. That's fun.
Clax on Nintendo console very bad. I remember.
Yeah, it was pretty hokey.
Hokey as shit. They were lacking features, which is really funny because Clax is the fucking action puzzle. But the way they lack some of the scoring. Oh yeah, if you do a bunch of goofy shit, you can get massive score.
Yeah, they did do a lot of other collections here. Who's doing the Capcom collection coming up here? Actually, both of them. Capcom USA is handling it in-house. They're very busy. Digital Eclipse can only do so much. They're only doing one at a time, and we are living in a world where Iron Galaxy is not the bright and shining example of a hero that we need right now. So, people are very busy working on AA games instead of AAA games these days, which is perfectly fine by me. The world needs more ports of these classics that nobody's played.
Digital Eclipse is doing Tetris Forever and the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Oh yeah, they did the Tetris collection that's coming up too. Yeah,
and they're doing the Rita's Rewind game.
Yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun, and that's an original IP. IDW. But yeah, we've got collections for Marvel vs. Capcom fighting games. We've got collections for Tetris. There's gonna be a lot of retro gaming collections coming out very soon. Something for everybody here.
Yeah. And the
Hearthstone, yeah. Project Justice, yeah.
The Tetris collection's got a lot of shit on it.
It doesn't have the Satellaview game that should be coming out. Oh, by the way, quick teaser. We'll be getting our first guest on the Reddmasq Podcast next week. This guest is very sophisticated with the Satellaview console. And his first name is Matthew. His last name is I forgot. Very honorary, though. I hope that we can introduce him properly next week, but stay tuned if you're interested in seeing our little podcast grow, and thank you for your support.
I'm nervous.
Me too. A lot of these shows actually like do these guest cast folks and then just like kind of cross their T's and dot their I's. So like this one's gonna be a little more formal than we usually do it. We'll see what kind of happens. I've got like a whole set of notes lined up here, and yeah, you already met the guy. Remember, Red? Like
yeah, we met him at the same thing. We did.
Exactly. Yeah, he's just an expert on Satellaview content, the Tetris port that needs to be, as well as the BSX Town with No Name game. Not to be confused with the True Shit.
True Shit.
Yeah, shout out to Red
Supre. They haven't uploaded anything together in years. Yeah. You know what? They're funny on their own anyway.
The town that had its name stolen was the BSX BIOS game, essentially, that let you download stuff and kind of explore around, but you'll get more of that next week, folks.
The little earthbound world you can walk around in.
This episode is brought to you by us. We work hard in making an exciting show each week, chaos included. Check out the links in the show notes for ways to help support the show. This includes our coffee page, which you can find at ko-fi.com/mask31. We're interested to hear what you would like to hear from the Reddmasq Podcast as well, though. Please write us at podcast@mask31.dev for future episode ideas. Please suggest anything to us. We're very vocal.
If I really want to pay for Nitro, I can use my older brother's Philips CDI splash screen effect.
Or just the RZ one, the CDI. Oh, wait, what do you older brothers? What do you mean?
My older brother's soundboard has the Philips CDI splash screen, and it's so loud because that's how it is by default.
Yeah. God.
Very, very loud. You can just look up.
And poorly animated.
Yeah, well, it's the CDI.
Yes.
Poorly animated, poorly everything.
I can't wait to get my Limited Run Games controller in about a week. That should have gotten to me about 4 months ago because it's Limited Run Games.
It's Limited Run Games. You're gonna get the controller and it's gonna be burned on a CD for some reason.
We're not sponsored, and we're not looking for sponsorships, but we're still open to the idea, so feel free to email us about that as well. Podcast@mask31.dev.
Yeah.
We like IM8-bit. We especially like Fangamer. I love Fangamer. Oh my god. Anyway, I don't know if you have a segment planned here, but I've got 3 bigger things to talk about. In particular, helping out my dad. Because he's a little worse for wear these days due to the fact that he fell and broke his arm. He's perfectly fine now. He's okay. We had to actually just bring him in to get a cast and then get like an arm brace, which is where he's at right now. He can only use one hand, but we're looking after him pretty well, and he's pretty good at taking care of himself. Really nice guy. I live with him, in fact. And part of that also means that I can help introduce him to things to pass the time, like shows, movies, and video games.
Set him up with...
I set him up with some nice games on my RG Nano, and boy, I was right about the one-handed thing with this thing. I really like this console.
What games did you give him?
We got 4 games for him. So we started with Tetris, because you can't go wrong with Tetris. The version that he's playing right now is Tetris DX, because, like, he's never been an NES Tetris fan, only Game Boy. And he pretty much gave that up after I was born. Yeah, so the Game Boy Color one, that's a souped-up version of the
that one's pretty good. We had that one.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Got, like, other features. Choose mode. You can also... There's, like... Some of the modes are, like, versus CPU.
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty rad, if you ask me.
He's just a vanilla style player, so he's only gonna do like marathon, which is perfectly fine and valid. He's got up to level 8 before, which is nice for someone that's only using one hand to play the game.
Yeah,
quite impressive.
Yes, he has to send a rocket into space.
There's multiple rockets you can send. Actually,
yes, there are multiple. There are multiple. Like they added like way more.
You can send the soda rocket into space if you're just good enough. Or
they use in the Statue of Liberty in space.
Oh yeah, really?
I think.
Oh, that's classy. I love that.
I think that's one of them. Is like you send the Statue of Liberty into space.
Excellent.
If I remember.
I hope he shows me that if he gets good enough.
It's really funny though, because like with the color, the Game Boy Color, you have the fucking. They changed the background based on how many levels you've gone past. Like every 5 levels, color.
Mm-hmm.
And it can get like typically, when I was bad at Tetris, I always got like the levels fucking 6 through 10 or whatever, or like pink in the background. But if you do really well and keep going, you can get like green background, black background, background. You get the black background, it's like that looks.
Yeah, I mean, at least it's in color though.
It is a color, but it kind of psychs you out because it looks fucked up.
Right.
Like, oh, that's like that. There should be a color back. Black is a color, but looks like a void, and now I'm like psyching myself out.
Not quite the color we were looking for. Yeah.
It looks a little. It's not really like a bad thing. It's just like it's symbolizing how well you're like
empty. But yeah, the other games we set them up with. So, arcade classics. I had to get a MAME 2000 core from Libretro on my RG Nano, and thank God it actually worked. Like, this is the easiest MAME core I've ever worked with, even including Fightcade. You literally just put the core on the console, you load an arcade game from a zip file. That's it. It works. It's shocking that it works, because, like, the MAME that I used on PC years and years ago requires so much configuration to actually use some of these files. You might not have like the complete arcade board ROM dump. There's so many variables. Just the fact that this is like a plug and play for a MAME emulator. Like, okay, I'm done. That's crazy. I love this. Meanwhile, going back to our friends at Digital Eclipse, by the way, great at replicating games in emulators, but not so great at replicating games if they don't have the original BIOS. We tried to get them a version of Centipede that worked with the Game Boy Advance. It doesn't work unless you load BIOS, and the RG Nano doesn't actually let you load BIOS for the games. And when you do, it actually plays this like screeching sound in the background. So I was just like, nope, this does not work. So I abandoned that plan pretty quick.
You gotta give him a trackball and just get it. You gotta make it yourself. You gotta get a trackball.
Oh my god. You can't plug a trackball in for Centipede that way. I would love to, but like, oh my god.
Trackball.
Tiny trackball. Make it like the ThinkPad numb.
Yeah, tiny trackball and a button. They burp and cough all day long.
What is the world's smallest trackball? Now I'm curious. The Adesco AKB310UB mini trackball keyboard.
Yeah, it's like those. It's like when you get a laptop where they have like a little nub in the very middle that you use to mouse around.
Yes,
I used to use that like exclusively at one point.
I like the option. It's really nice, and it's really good for accessibility too.
Moves pretty responsive.
I can imagine someone's like built like a trackball that like you can hold in like one hand and spin around, kind of like with this console.
Yeah.
Trackballs are nice, but you're just playing with the D-pad with the version of Centipede that we got for the arcade. So we got Centipede, Pac-Man, those were the other two, and finally Space Invaders, which I decided that the Game Boy... Okay, there was a Space Invaders DX. That was an arcade game version. It was an enhanced version in 93. It's not to be confused with the 1979 version, which, if you play it on an arcade emulator, you'll get basically just a bunch of dots. The screen was actually like an overlay in the original game.
Right.
So you won't see that if you're emulating it.
So the version you got him, was it Space Invaders for the Game Boy Advance or the Game Boy Color?
It was the Game Boy Color version.
Game Boy Color. So the one I showed you?
Yes.
Okay. So that version was like an indirect port of the N64 or PlayStation.
I lied again. It was the Game Boy version.
Game Boy?
Yeah, original Game Boy version. How much dumbassery can I take in one day?
Like your
I'm
thoughts?
Like sweating down here.
Like I was like tripping over my own tongue with my own dumbassery, and you're over here like.
The podcast de-rusting. It's ugly. We're back, baby.
Podcast de-rusting.
Anyway, I interrupted your thought because, like, I told you I got him the Game Boy, period, version of Space Invaders, period. And then you showed me Space Invaders DX on Game Boy Color, period.
Space Invaders on the Game Boy Color is like an indirect port of Space Invaders for the Nintendo 64 or the PlayStation, right?
Right.
Where it's like you have like, you're going through all the different planets. You start with like Pluto or Mercury, depending on which game you're playing. and you have like different. You have like these you have different aliens, different space invaders that you can shoot, and with the N64 and PlayStation version, you have to shoot 4 of the same color to get a powered up shot, and which you can use to like take out even more the alien, right?
You're supposed to optimize your shots, yeah.
Well, yeah, you're supposed to like try and get the power up so you have an easier time. And there's also bosses at the end of every planet. Funny because the boss at the end of Earth is just the goddamn the fucking logo monster from the original. The big scary like shadow thing.
Ooh.
Is the boss for the Earth stage. And then when you get to the Invader's home planet, the Invader's home planet is just the original arcade game. So you're just playing on like an old arcade cabinet and just sound very funny. But the Game Boy Color version is kind of like that, but it's an indirect port in the fact that like because it's the Game Boy Color, they couldn't really bring in most of the shit. If you want a more direct port of the N64 PlayStation 1, you would have to go to the Game Boy Advance. That's a far more direct, same graphic. Game Boy Color, instead of shooting the invaders to get your power ups, like shoot 4 of the same invader to get a power up.
Right.
You get power ups from the UFOs at the very top of the shoot.
Typically, yeah.
And you have multiple, and you get to choose from one of 3 ships, and the ships have like different stats. Like the one that has the one that gives 3 hits at the start, because they have like 3 stats, where like how many shots they can have out at once, how fast they move, how many hits they can take.
Right.
So typically, you have the glass cannon, the middle of the road, and then you have the tank, where it's like the tank gets 1 shot or whatever. It can take 3 hits, moves like shit, but the thing that fires all over the place and doesn't like a bitch, it'll die in 1 hit. So you have that to keep in mind. There's also bosses, but something that they do with the invaders, that the invaders like once you start getting the unique, like the different, god damn it, once you get like the different invaders as you progress, you have to kill them in like different ways. I remember there's an invader you have to hit twice in quick succession to actually destroy it.
Otherwise, if you just like hit 1 shot, it's just gonna stay alive.
Yeah, if you hit it with 1 shot, it turns red before it goes back to normal. So you have to hit it while it's red. It's very annoying. Hated that motherfucker, but I was never good at that game in the first place because I could never see the screen well enough to not. That's my issue with all Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance. I can't see the damn screen.
There's no light on the screen. It doesn't have a backlight yet. That's the problem.
And even with the Game Boy Advance SP, I could sometimes not. It sucks.
You would need to have played it on the Super Game Boy, and very few people actually use those. And the Super Game Boy 2 never got out of Japan.
We did have a Super Game Boy. I remember watching my dad play Mario's Picross.
Mario Picados, Mario Picados.
If we ever get to the segment I was going to do, was talking about fucking Cult of the Lamb.
Yeah, we gotta do that. Yeah, I pretty much wrapped up with the section. He got 4 games. He's happy with all those. It's nice that you can just like power off, save whenever with the RG Nano. I'd recommend it to anyone that needs to play video games with a single hand. It is super good at that.
Yeah.
All right, case closed. All right, Lamb.
Cult of the Lamb and Goat.
Yes.
First off, to start with, I went to it's not online multiplayer, but
it is
stimulate couch co-op if you use Parsec. Fuck yeah, we did Parsec.
Parsec or Steam Remote Play together. Pick your poison on whichever technique suits you best. You can basically visit your friends' towns, except unlike Animal Crossing, you just have to be there.
You are there and you can actually work together, like things.
Yes.
Like sometimes I would build something for you, like places. And I was also very critical.
I mean, to the point where I actually made some legitimate changes to make it better. I had not visited the game in years. I actually wasn't here for, like, the combat rebalance update. It was before that was the last time I played.
Right.
So I missed out on that. And the packs, and the post-game, and pretty much all that.
We ate a death on your... Because the thing I was criticizing your fucking cult for, how unorganized it was.
It was, yeah. Now it's better.
Yeah, yeah. I hope I wasn't too mean about it, because I felt like
you
I
gotta
was.
kick my ass sometimes. I get that.
Fair enough. But we did like eat a death, because you're playing on normal, I'm playing on easy. So I would go over to your place and we take a death because you died, and then we unlocked a bunch of weird corrupted cards.
Right, the relics and such as well. There are curse cards and there are relics now. The relics give you kind of added effects that you can use wherever. Think Binding of Isaac and like things like the D20, except instead of rerolling stuff, it's just like an active item you can use.
Yeah, they're more like the trinkets.
Yeah,
kind of. It's another active ability. It's weird. And they have to be, and there's like different varieties where it's like, oh, this one's fragile, so you get to use it with exactly one. And then like some of them you can be reused, but you have to charge them or whatever. And it's just like, it's a whole other thing. I don't know how to properly get, 'cause, like, I barely ever run into them in the first place.
Right.
That's kind of a problem with Cult of the Lamb in general. That you unlock these things, and in a run you'll barely ever see them because a run is so short.
I will say that when you actually do get to use the stuff, that actually synergizes well with the build. It feels really good. One of the cards I got from like one of the cards I got from like the tarot card fortune teller, they gave me a perk that basically says negates negative effects of curses. So I would go out of my way to get like cursed cards and cursed relics to just get the positive effects. It's like, if you use this relic, you get a half of a diseased heart. And it spreads poison everywhere, which is the negative effect. You don't want to stand in that. So it would just give me the heart, which is nice.
Yeah. And it's more just the problem is that you don't get very many because of how short they are. Unless you try to do like a you already cleared this zone run where you get to go as far as you get to go up to 3, then it forces you to stop.
Right.
And then at that point it's like you don't really need the help. It is nice.
Having like a nice built roguelike character is always fun. Again, see Isaac. Very good.
Yeah. Because Isaac runs go for a while, and you don't get as many. You get like a guaranteed item every floor, basically, unless you get fucking bullshit by, oh, go up against pride, go up against greed. You wanted to go to the store, bitch? You have greed for 3 times in a row.
Fantastic.
Isaac's very keen on fucking.
Well, yes, but you can absolutely break the game over your knee, much like any other roguelike, if you know how to play it.
And a lot of like usually when I see people play it, they have a mod that lets you what everything does, because it doesn't tell you anything about it.
Right.
And sometimes it'll fucking lie to you. I remember seeing people like complain about that, where it's like they get an item that says like, oh, it's tears up, and it's like you look at the stats, and it's like you barely get any tears, but you actually gain some. It's like, but why are you lying to us, Edmund? Son of a bitch.
Fantastic.
Like, it's just like a roguelite that fucking lies.
God, I mean, that's kind of been a thing in Sheeran, like some of the mid games. Also, Pokemon Mystery Dungeons Explorers of Sky entry had items with fake names. The Reviser Seed instead of the Reviver Seed made you revive, made your character laugh at you, and then you died.
Wow. I mean, that just reminds me of fucking watching people play like Ocarina of Time randomizer with ice traps and stores, because the ice traps and stores are spelled.
Yeah.
So it's like you might find a slingshot or you might find a slong shit. Who knows?
Oh wow, that is a crass name.
Very funny. It's very funny every time you see the misspelling.
Is there anything that we need to talk about with Cult of the Lamb co-op? We could do pretty much anything that like you can do during the normal game. The second player can fish. The second player can like tag along. It follows some Kirby Superstar logic in which like the first player is still king. It's still there's stuff that you're interacting with.
Yeah,
but you can still do stuff. You can still talk to your own villagers.
Yeah, like
both players can.
You're literally a second player. You're less of a co-op partner and actually like a second player.
Precisely.
Like you're stuck together. You're doing the same things as each other, but like.
Oh, there are exclusive tarot cards as well.
Oh yeah.
We got like one where like there would be a beam that connected us.
Oh yeah.
And then you'd actually like run through enemies and damage them, but they can also hurt you with that beam, which is interesting.
I still don't understand how that works.
Yeah.
I don't understand what was happening with that. I need to.
I was getting my Knuckles Chaotix geek on though, so yeah.
No, we were playing Knuckles Chaotix. Fucking
yeah.
Oy vey.
Oh, we'll talk about in the next couple episodes some like Sonic movie hype cycles going on right now because that's popular, hip and happening. We like Sega.
They finally released the trailer for Sonic 3.
I said next episode. Oh my god.
Right, well, that's the teaser.
I want to talk about that. I want to talk about Generations, and I want to talk about the shitty Chip and Dale movie.
Yeah,
I was going to do that all in one fucking go.
Shitty? Yeah, it was.
Yes. No, it was a 7.5 out of 10. It's Who Framed Roger Rabbit 2. What do you fucking want?
God damn, it was a perfectly cromulent movie.
It was a 7. What would you give it an 8 out of 10? I'm just asking.
I don't really have a rating for movies. I just I'm not much of a person. It was like, yeah, I was enjoying myself watching.
Yeah.
Fucking ugly Sonic exists.
Ugly Sonic, yes.
But perfectly cromulent movie. For some reason on Twitter, the Flames of Disaster trending multiple days, and now it's a meme with a fucking blue screen, green screen effect on it.
What the hell is this? The Flames of Disaster.
Someone made a Metopia one where it's like their character was casting a fire spell, and it's Wade Whipple saying the Flames of Disaster, but he gets cut off and blown up by the fire spell. Very, very good.
Oh my gosh.
But like Cult of the Lamb, I finally beat the game the first time.
Yeah, you got through your first clear there. I was there for that. You were dodging bullets like crazy. You're on easy mode, which makes it a lot more tolerable, and you don't have to dodge nearly as much.
Yes, it's a lot more tolerable to play it on easy. I was just interested in like running the cult, and I found out that they fucking put a level cap of 10 on your cult.
The cult members have
God damn it!
So I had like a couple, and then you have to ascend them.
I had like a couple cult members that were like level 13 and 11 before that, and now it's like they're just like weirdos, and I was like, I don't like this, so I looked into modding, and I modded it.
You got into mods. This game's R2 mod, man, because it's a Unity game. Woohoo!
Yeah,
I like that.
I used my demons once on the Narrander on the one who waits fight, and they fucking melted him and his two guys, left and right hand.
Yeah.
They just fucking, my demons bodied him. Then I recruited him into my cult, and now he's an immortal cat. He's an immortal cat with a third eye.
He just him and all the other bosses are recruitable now. When I left, they didn't have their own voice clips or like dialogue, but now they do. Yeah. They have things to say after they're in your cult, and pertaining to their like old rules and statuses, and they have missions. It's so interesting.
Like go back to my realm and grab my thing, and then they'll give you a mission afterwards. Like, okay, turn me into a demon and take me with you.
Mm-hmm. You have to purify the Eye of Lishi that way.
Yeah, and it's really funny because if you try to go early by breaking the warship statue to fight the boss immediately or whatever, they're like, no, don't
fight me right now. We have to go all the way.
You need to go all the way.
Yes.
I'm enjoying my time back in my realm. Don't you dare cut this short.
They tied it into the lore. Oh, there are tablets that you can find in exchange for a heart that will give you lore called the Old Testament? Something like that?
It's like old shit.
Yeah, it's story, basically.
It's story from a time well in the past.
Right, yeah. It doesn't really change anything. At least, I don't know if it changes anything.
A lot of background, and I'm currently working.
Yeah. It's a while before we'll see payoff on that.
The way you have to, like, unlock it is you have to find, when you're in a run, you have to find a little, like a fucking statue in one of the exits as well, and then you have to find a statue. Like, you have to notice that there's a statue on the map, right? Yes. And you have to like get an enemy to hit the statue. Maybe I don't know. It's weird, but I that's how I got it to work last time. Then once you clear the room, if you've activated the statue, it'll activate a hidden path to go to that. Sacrifice one of your hearts to gain that. You sacrifice one of your hearts. It's not like you don't sacrifice a heart container. You literally just take a heart of damage. Not like you don't fucking. You
don't get any like damage procs from it though.
You don't fucking nerf yourself. You just the heart.
Yep.
You can heal it back.
You can get it back easy. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. You probably have a bunch of spirit hearts.
You helped me find all the snail shells and clear a bunch of other miscellaneous stuff. Oh, we played Knucklebones.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I kicked your ass in.
Yeah, playing Knucklebones together is a painful experience, though. It's just pure RNG.
It's real fun when the RNG decides that you're only going to roll 1s through 4s and your opponent gets like 3 6s in a row. And it's like, game, give me something, please.
Randomization waiting, I suspect.
Maybe. But I did on your file when I was playing 2-player, I played all the players for you to unlock the Knucklebones table for your own.
Thank you again.
Someone I watch on YouTube called Beast Crab said Cult of the Lamb was the ActRaiser sequel we never got. And it was funny because he was specifically pointing out that he did not like the remake tower defense stuff.
Right, that's a part of that.
Yeah. And it's funny because I found out when I went back into that game and started a new file to see what it was like. It lets you skip any of the tower defense stuff you've already beaten.
They knew it sucked.
They knew it was like, you probably don't want to do this again. Right?
No.
Probably like the least, you want to get right back into the game like it used to be, right? Well,
if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Please. We beg you. This is why we just want ports right now. This is why everything that's coming out is ports, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
I like to sing the praise of ActRaiser Renaissance. It is a fun time. I beat that game 100%. Also, it's got hilarious graphics. Like poorly photoshopped animation. Really funny. But it plays fine. It plays like an ActRaiser. Specifically ActRaiser 1. With the whole reason ActRaiser, great game, is that it combines genre. What Cult of the Lamb does. Haha! Thanks.
Farming simulator and combat simulator.
Farming simulator plus RPG? Oh, you mean Root Factory?
Yeah, everything was roguelite in gaming for a little while, but now we're just back.
It's kind of still there, but now it's like throwing in deck builder too.
Right.
Yeah, it's a little saturated right now. I do not very much appreciate the rogue genre as much, just because it feels a little bit out of my depth.
Meanwhile, I'm a Sheeran purist most of the time.
Yeah, the closest I ever got to Mystery Dungeon, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, that's got other stuff to it that I like. Until the more recent games, in which case it all started kind of removing the stuff that I like. Oopsies.
You could put it back if you really want to try, but it still doesn't have it. Just play the old ones. They're on Nintendo Switch Online now.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah,
They put Red
Rescue Team on there.
I have DX. I don't know if that's still.
It's just like has all the modern games enhancements except like the Mega Stone stuff because that was like Super's thing.
Yeah, that was like.
And then doesn't have anything that Gates to Infinity has. We had this discussion before. No review wheel for you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we had this discussion, but not on the fucking stream.
Yeah, we did. Oh my god, we have so much more to talk about now that we're back here. We could talk about the Found Superstar Saga prototype ROM. We could talk about our Paper Mario retrospective. We could talk about movies. We could talk about pretty much anything because we are back. Thank you for listening to this episode. We are hosted on mask31.dev/the-Reddmasq-podcast. You can also find us on Pocket Casts and wherever great podcasts are found.